When is Skynet?
I don't know.
Does Charlie know?
Always 9 p.m. Saturday on 146.88. Duh.
W5FC.
The countdown continues. 7 minutes until Skynet takes over. countdown continues. 2 minutes until Skynet takes over the airwaves.
Afterglow Movie Net, Saturday, 10:30 p.m., W5FC.
Do what you gotta do, Chaz. K5, JDW, hold on.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. edition of this Skynet? This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha. My name is Chaz, also known as Trouble, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. until 10:30, concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs to become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime skies, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in the topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign, break, and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? This is a directed net, so please do not transmit without directions from net control. That's me. And the stations are reminded to use their ID at the end of your transmission, such as this. This is KF5JHA. This weekly net operates on a frequency of 146.88 megahertz with a private line tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible. I see several people over there on Echolink already. All you have to do is use W5FC-R station ID or the Echolink node 37247. Now, tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Just go to W5FC.org right now for the complete list. And remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur radio operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. Now, this net is 90 minutes long and is structured into several parts. We will try to cover as many as we can. General announcements, the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, National Space Society events. Discussion topic of the evening was space exploration and space history, constellation of the week, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, and astronomical questions and answers. Once again, all amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. Now let's start right now with low power and short time check-ins. Come now with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from this evening. Now I like to do this in groups of 3, so the first 3 people that are low power and short time, please come with your call signs phonetically, very slowly. I only do this 4 times a year. So phonetically, slowly, with your call sign, name, and where you're transmitting from. First 3 people, please. Thank you.
November 5, Whiskey Yankee. This is Joseph in East Dallas.
Foxtrot, Romeo, Jacob, Dallas, short time and low power.
Kilo India 5, Uniform Alpha Uniform, David on an HT in Mesquite.
Thank you, Joseph, Jacob, and David. I need to get a fill on Jacob's call sign. You got squished a little bit, so Jacob, could you come now with your call sign once again phonetically?
Absolutely. The call is Kilo, Golf, 5, Uniform, Foxtrot, Romeo.
Thank you so much. Once again, net recognizes N5, I think it's WY, KG5, UFR, KI5, UAU. Okay, the next 3 people now. Come with your call sign phonetically, slowly, your name and your location, please. Oh, this is for short time and low power right now.
Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta Whiskey, John in Louisville, mobile.
Kilo 5, Mike Charlie Delta, Cody in Dallas, low power.
This is Kilo Fox 5, Papa Lima Lima, Huey Richardson.
And that wreck trip either going up to Oklahoma or coming back here to the Dallas area. I don't know. Okay, I need the next 3 people, please, with your call signs phonetically, slowly, your name, and your location. Thank you.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill Farmers Branch.
November Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth.
All right, then that recognizes Bill in Virginia. Thank you so much. Bill's in Farmers Branch and Virginia's in Fort Worth. Okay, the next 3 people, you don't need to be low power or short time at this point. Please come now with your call sign slowly, phonetically, and your name and your location, please. stop it right here for the moment. I'm not sure if I heard much of anything except Kilo 5. You're 90% noise. I'm not very able to hear you at all. Could you either improve your position or increase your power, please, and try it again? Philip, I've got you. K5KOB. I've got you. Thank you so much for trying it again. You're still a lot of noise, but I was able to pull it all out. Okay. Come now, once again, 3 people, the next 3 people, phonetically with your call sign and then your name and your location. Thank you for going slowly, everyone, since I only do this every once in a while.
Kilo India 5, Kilo Whiskey Golf, cruise in Arlington.
November 8, Whiskey Romeo, N8WWR, Romy Grapevine, just for the count.
Okay, we're going a little bit slow this evening, but I've got KI5 KWG Cruise. You're in Arlington, N8WWR Romy. That's in Grapevine, you are Romy. Okay, come now, the next 3 people, if you'd like to check into Skynet, this is the call for any general check-ins to Skynet. Come now with your call sign phonetically, slowly, your name and your location, please.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom, Lewis.
Kilo India 5, Papa Golf Mike.
Joe in Arlington.
Okay, this is interesting. I've got pieces of 2 different people signing in. Kilo India something, and the rest was wiped out, and then I've got Joe. The first one, Kilo India, please come now with your complete call sign and your name and your location, please.
I'll guess that was me. Kilo India 5, Papa Golf Mike. Travis in Garland.
Thank you, Travis. Got you. And Joe, please come now with your call sign. I've got you in Arlington, but I don't have your call sign at all.
Golf 5, Zulu.
Joe, I see you over on Echolink. Thank you so much. I've got you. Okay, thank you so much. All right, I'll tell you what. We'll take any node, that's including Echolink, any node, including Echolink. Well, let's just do Echolink right now. Anybody on Echolink that would like to check in over RF, please come now with your call sign, your name, and your location, please. I'll give you plenty of time.
This is Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray Kelly in Point, Texas.
Okay, I've got Kelly, K5KTX. Tony, I see you over on Echolink. I'm going to get you checked in, even though I haven't heard from you. NT5TN. That's Tony. Let's see now, who else is over there that I haven't checked in? I think I checked in everyone else that's over there on Echolink. Okay, if there's anyone on any mode, radio, or Echolink, please come now with your call sign, slowly, phonetically, and your name and your location if you'd like to check in for this edition of Skynet. We'll have other check-ins later on, but come now if you'd like to check in right now.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot, India, WB, Dallas, low power.
Kilo India 5, uniform, Dallas.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Bill in Irving.
Thank you so much. The next recognizes Tad. Thank you. You're here every week. I don't know why you're so strong into the repeater. You're low power, but it sounds like you've got 100 watts. Okay. Bill, N5BB, got you. Now, there is another person in between, a lot of noise. I got KI5 from Dallas. I don't know the rest of your call sign. I don't know your name. Could you please come back with your full call sign, phonetically, slowly, and your name, please? Did someone catch that? Can someone relay that to me? I'm just having a hard time hearing with static and stuff.
Kilo India 5, uniform, Juliet, Dustin in Dallas.
Thank you. Thank you so much. KI5, uniform, Tango, Dustin in Dallas. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll go ahead and see one more time if there's any last-minute check-ins to Skynet. Well, not last minute, but this round of check-ins. One more time, and then we'll continue on. If you like to check in, come now with your call sign phonetically, slowly, your name and your location.
5 Romeo Juliet Victor. My name is John in Pearl, Texas.
WK Portable. Name is Mike, downtown Dallas. No traffic.
Well, it sounds like we have a conglomeration of 3. John, I think you were the first. Could you give me your call sign phonetically, slowly, and your location? I've got your name, part of your call sign, but I don't have a full call sign, and I don't have the location.
Texas.
John, it sounds like you're having some sort of transmission problem. You're cutting in and out, and I'm only getting part of it. Could you do your call sign twice? Go ahead and do it slowly twice, and let's see if that works.
Kilo Romeo Juliet Victor. Might have been this is Kilo Golf 5 Romeo Juliet Victor. How do you read now? I think RJV is the last part. I don't know what's in the middle. I think it's a 5, and there might be another letter after the kilo, but I'm not sure. And your location, I'm not sure of, but I'll check you in. We'll get back to you and see if you can get a better transmission to us in a little bit. The next person was something with kilo in it, and I didn't get a name or a location. Please come now with your call sign and your name and your location, please.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Kilo Whiskey Kilo, WB5 KWK, portable, downtown Dallas.
Thank you so much. We've got you checked in. And Mike, I didn't get your call sign. Or was that Mike that just checked in?
Yes, this is me, WB5 KWK Mike.
Okay, so it was only 2 people that were on top of each other. All right, thank you so much. I'll take more check-ins a little bit later on. Let's move on to the next sequence of events for Skynet. Let's see now. Do any of you out there have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or general interest to licensed hams. Come now with your call sign if you have an announcement. Kilo Golf 5, Romeo Juliet Victor. How do you read now? Well, that is great. John, once again, you were 5 by 5 then. Once again on your call sign and your location, John. Okay, yeah. Kilo Golf 5, Romeo Juliet Victor in Terrell, Texas. Can you read me all right now? You are great. It sounds like you're right next to the repeaters, John. So, Kilo Golf 5, Romeo Juliet Victor. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate your trying to get in here and doing a great job at this point, so I appreciate that. So, once again, is there any general announcements for this evening's set? Come now with your call sign if you have any announcements. This is Romeo, Kilo Golf Juliet Victor. I was noticing that the sun is flaring up, at its height in the past maximum in 2 years, causing worry and uncertainty. Well, that is an interesting thing. Some of you know that my degree is in astrophysics, so yeah, I've been tracking that too. The sun is at a peak right now that shouldn't happen for another couple of years. We're surprised at how high this is. If it keeps on climbing, we might have the highest sunspot cycle in quite some time. So, very good, absolutely. If you don't have the ability to take a look at the sun with filtered means to look at the sun, then go to spaceweather.com, and that'll show you a picture of the sun every day. They update the picture. So, of course, there's other websites for what the sun is causing for amateur radio operators, too. But we can get into that later. All right, thank you so much. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's see now. We have, an Afterglow movie. And I usually have Tom, KE5ICX, to give a very accurate description. So could you go ahead and do that for us right now?
Why, yes, I can. And I bet it's not in the script, so hang on here. I'm still looking. Hold on. All right, here we go. Paul Carlson was just a regular mineralogist, a typical guy who might go to Walmart and pick up one of those deals on roasted chicken for $3.99. Fortunately, he had a problem, a big one. A meteorite was lodged in his brain, and this one wasn't fooling around. Not like a typical meteorite that typically hits people in the head. Fortunately, only when the moon comes out. But never fear, a quick call to the NASA surgeons, there's always a call for this problem, also gave Paul the bad news. He would probably self-combust very soon. Join us for, quote, one of those movies, end quote, this Saturday. That would be tonight at 10:30 p.m. The incredible film, Track of the Moon Beast from 1976. It's a winner, or something starting with a W. Back to you, Chaz, KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. I did this sort of out of order, I'm sorry, so I got you off guard. There you go. Brenda, WB5OZL, I've got you checked in, and Shane, W0MBC in Blue Springs, I've got you checked in as well. So just thought I'd let you know I'm checking over here on Echolink. They're both over here on Echolink, and just thought I'd let you know that I'm getting up. Let's say we're up to 24 people so far. We just found out that we have an Afterglow movie after Skynet tonight. We have all sorts of nets on this thing. On Sundays, there's a fifth Sunday, so let's see now, there's no meeting on the air, and there's no races training net tomorrow night. On Monday, the fifth Monday, there's a surprise net. Do you feel like being surprised? Well, we can't tell you what it is because it wouldn't be a surprise. But we'll give you some ideas of what it could be once you sign in. Don't forget that the August DARC meeting is this coming Tuesday. Our presentation will be given by KF5QHQ. He will teach us about ham radio software Grid Tracker. The AMSAT, that's Amateur Radio Satellite Group, has 2 nets available on the Dallas Resonance on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. You'll need Echolink installed and registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, Live Audio Link is available on their website, amsatnet.com. This originates from Houston. Now, the Dallas AMSAT East, for Dallas to Fort Worth area, is every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on this repeater at 146.88 megahertz at private line tone 110.9 on Tuesdays. Tom N5HYP is net control, but there isn't any when there's a DARC club meeting. So this Tuesday there's not going to be one, but there will be one every Tuesday the rest of August after that. Now, Dallas AMSAT Net West is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.14 megahertz with private line tone of 110.9, positive offset. Now, let's see now. Oh, there's all sorts of other nets. Let me see if I can read through the list shortly. The Ham Fixes Net on Mondays, on the first and third Monday of the month. There's an Ecom 101 on the second Monday of the month. There's on the fourth Monday of the month, there's a Geek Net, and of course the fifth one of the month, that's what I was talking about, it was a surprise net. Let's see now, Friday's a CERT City simulation. It's the most emergency-prone city in the entire world. And Melissa KI5GRH is usually the net control. Let's see now. Saturdays, of course, Tetnek is from 7 to 8 p.m. And, of course, Skynet we're listening to right now. Let's see now. What else happens? On the first and third Sundays, there's Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air. ARRL Net is daily at 6:30 p.m., and all are welcome to check in on any of these nets. Okay, let's see now. What else is next? I'm scanning through the script. I've already done that. Afterglow movie we've already talked about. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events is what's next, and that would be me. So the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas club meeting will be held on Friday, August the 25th. I just had one last night that was talking about the eclipse and what the task response will be. And the next meeting is, like I said, is August 25th. It's going to be at 7:30 p.m. at University of Texas at Dallas. And will also be held on Zoom. The featured speaker is Dr. Mohan, I'm going to mess his name up, Trilmalia, and he's from the University of Houston. I had it wrong in the script. And his topic is about astrobiology. That should be interesting. Now, Saturday night public observing sessions has begun again. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights so that there could be an opportunity for live reports from the TASS public observing sessions, but there are no public observing sessions scheduled on the 5th Saturday of the month. Oh, well. Check the TASS website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. All right, now, National Space Society, N5BB. You usually give us that information. Could you tell us this? This is KF5JHA, handing it over to N5BB.
Well, thank you, Chaz. This is N5BB, November 5, Bravo, Bravo. I happen to be the membership director and the member at large for the North Texas chapter of the National Space Society. National Space Society is a mostly U.S., but it's actually a worldwide organization, nonprofit, dedicated to popularizing and pushing the human activities in space. Anyway, our meetings are on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. So our next meeting will be on Sunday, August the 13th. The meeting will be at 3:30 p.m. A presentation starting at 4 at Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving at the southwest corner of Highway 183 and Beltline. This is a couple of miles east of the south entrance of DFW Airport. And our speaker will be Two Hams. Our presentation will be by Cynthia and Dietrich Wisenot, N5TFB and KI5L. You may remember them. They used to be, Dietrich used to have a different call sign. I think he was KI5TL at one point. They used to live in the DFW area, but a couple of years ago they moved to Quezon, Texas. This is a couple of hours east of Dallas, near Dangerfield. I don't know if they don't get any respect out there, but that's another story. Anyway, that's a Rodney story. They're in Quezon. But anyway, they're going to be there at the meeting. Cynthia is an officer of the local chapter of the National Space Society. She's the vice president of our chapter. Anyway, they'll be giving a presentation on the Sun, the Moon, and Mars. Interactions and Exploration. I think that's the name of their presentation. Whatever it is, it'll be exciting. They always give a really good presentation, so it should be very good. You can see it in person, or if you're really nice and you let me know, I can give you the information where you can sign up and get on a WebEx, a virtual meeting, and see the presentation virtually. So if you'd like more information, send me an email. My email is space@byrom.net, space@byrom.net, or n5bb@arrl.net. And you just missed an activity we had last night in Irving on the last Friday of each month. we have a social event called Space Rendezvous, where us space nerds get together at a restaurant. And we've been doing at the 54th Street Bar and Grill in Irving on Highway 635 on Sunday, the last Sunday of the month, starting at 6 p.m. So several of us were there. We had great fun. The beer was good. The food was good. And we got to talk nerdy stuff and space stuff. So, see, you missed it. I think that's it for now. Oh, by the way, one more thing. Have a tour of the new National Space Society office at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. And so there's a poll going on where members of National Space Society can say when they want that to be, this year, next year, what time of the year, how many days, etc. National Space Society now has a small office manned by 2 people. They're at a building at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. We participated at Moon Day last Saturday, but I was sick and had laryngitis, so I was not there. This is N5BB, National Space Society. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. I was wondering why you were absent from the event. It was a great event as usual. So if I counted right, I think that's the 15th year we've had Moon Day at the Frontiers of Flight Museum. It's on the Saturday that's closest to the Apollo 11 landing on the moon. So that was this past Saturday. And you know what? I'm checking in Bethany, too. She's along there with Shane, so we're up to 25 check-ins now. So, okay. We're up to feature topic of the night, and that would be me. I have 2 of them. I've got a shorter one and a little bit longer one. The first one is the universe twice as old and twice as large. Well, it comes from a website, Universe Today. It's also a weekly email that I receive, too. And Slide Master, slide number 1, please. So, could the universe be twice as old if the light is tired and the physical constants change? That's the title. Okay, so maybe you've heard, I've talked about it on this net a couple of times, but heard the news that an astronomer is proposing that the universe is 26.7 billion years old and not the 13.8 revealed by the Planck Consortium collaboration. This was developed to explain something that the James Webb Space Telescope observations show, that the early universe is surprisingly mature. It depends on the idea of something called tired light. Now, that's a very interesting thing that's been proposed in the past, but now it's being revisited. And also the physical constants that's supposed to be constant, that might be something that change over time, despite the lack of evidence for either of these ideas in astronomical observations other than the most recent one. But it's a clever, out-of-the-box idea showing how exciting that in a time in this cosmology explanations. Now, it's thanks to James Webb Space Telescope's observations. Isn't that interesting? So over the next few months, this idea will be explored, and it's going to be very interesting to find out if it's found out to be correct. I just wanted to give you a little bit of information on that. You can really go ahead and do some searching on that if you'd like. universetoday.com is where I got that from, and you can get more information from there if you'd like. Slide Master, slide number 2. I'm going to our second topic about solar eclipses. Now, we've been talking on Skynet about 2 solar eclipses that are coming up soon. The first one occurs in about 2.5 months. A solar eclipse occurs when the moon moves in between the Earth and the sun, which blocks the sunlight from reaching at least a small part of the Earth. Because of the tilt of the moon's orbit around the Earth, most of the time the moon's shadow moves just above or below the Earth as it orbits. But a couple times of the year, the moon travels directly in between the Earth and the sun. The moon at times is too far away from the Earth to block out the entire disk of the sun, when this happens, it's called an annular solar eclipse because there's a ring or annulus of the sun around the moon. But when the moon is closer to the Earth in its orbit, and the moon can block out the entire sun completely, this is called a total solar eclipse. Slide Master, slide number 3, please. The eclipse on October the 14th is an annular solar eclipse. Now, in North Texas, we're not on the direct path of the lunar shadow, so we'll only experience what's called a partial annular solar eclipse. Now, some people living in West Texas and in New Mexico will experience the annular solar eclipse in its entirety, yes. Now, we had a partial solar eclipse the last time in North Texas. That was on August the 21st, 2017. That was the great eclipse that was, the totality went from almost, well, it did go from coast to coast in the United States. We'll get to another one in just a few minutes. In fact, that's the next slide. Slide Master, slide number 4, please. The other solar eclipse I want to talk about is going to occur on April the 8th, 2024. So that's in a few months from now. It's in about 10 months from now. About 8 months from now. April the 8th, 2024 is called a total solar eclipse because the moon is close enough to us and it's going to block out all of the sun, not just a little bit of the sun, all of the sun. In North Texas, we are on the direct path of the lunar shadow, so we'll experience the entire total solar eclipse. Now, the next total solar, partial solar eclipse is going to be on January the 26th, 2028. That's just in a few years. But the next total solar eclipse in North Texas won't be until July the 9th, the year 2317. That's why the April 8th, 2024 total solar eclipse is a big deal. A total solar eclipse only happens about once every 300 years in North Texas. Now, I promise to give you details about both of these solar eclipses in future Skynets, but if you want more detailed information, it's in the slide deck that I put up for this topic session. So, yes, Kelly is talking about the Texas Star Party will be hosting an event in west of Waco for the total solar eclipse, and I believe, if I remember right, what is it? Is the El Dorado Star Party, I think, is hosting something for the annular solar eclipse, I believe. So, okay, so there's a couple of things. We'll talk about those more in the future. Maybe Kelly or Brenda will talk about in the future. All right, I think that's it for the moment for the featured topics. I just wanted to briefly give you some information on that. See if we can get some more check-ins. If you'd like to check into this session of Skynet and you haven't checked in so far, please come now, slowly, phonetically, with your call sign and your name and your location.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth.
All right, Sean, we've got you. Thank you for commuting in from Fort Worth into the Dallas repeater. Appreciate it. All right. What's Up is next. Oh, no. What is that? Oh, it says Chaz is up next again. All right. So we call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the next couple of weeks. Slide Master, that was slide number 5. Slide number 6, please. The first quarter moon was on July the 25th. That was a few days ago. So the current phase of the moon is a waxing gibbous. Full moon is on August the 1st. That's just the early part of next week. August the 2nd is when the moon is a perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 357,311 kilometers. third quarter phase of the moon is on August the 8th. August the 16th is the moon's new moon phase. Also, on August 16th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that's furthest from the Earth at a distance of 406,634 kilometers. Slide Master, slide number 7. Now, we missed it last night on July the 8th, low in the western evening sky. The planet Mercury and the bright star Regulus were in conjunction with less than a distance of 1/4 of a degree apart from each other. Tonight, the pair was still rather close to each other. I didn't go out and take a look. I had some clouds in my area, so I might not have been able to see. But tomorrow night, they're still not going to be that far apart. So take your binoculars out. It might be strong twilight to look for them, but you might be able to pull them out. Slide Master, slide number 8. Now tonight, on the night of July the 29th and 30th, there won't be one, not two, but 3 different meteor showers that will peak. The Alpha Capricornus meteor shower will have around a handful of meteors. The Southern Delta Aquariid meteor shower, which is very consistent, is having about, maybe 16 meteors per hour. The July Gamma Draconid meteor shower could have between just a few meteors to over 100 meteors per hour. Now, how do you tell which meteor comes from which shower? It depends on the direction they're coming from. Yeah, you can get detailed information on how to observe these meteors and meteor showers by visiting the International Meteor Organization, IMO.net, or the American Meteor Society at amsmeteors.org. Slide Master, slide number 9, please. On August the 3rd, in the early morning southwestern sky, you can observe the conjunction of the moon and the planet Saturn. What's interesting, there's also a conjunction of the moon and Saturn at the end of August, but we'll talk about that later on. Slide Master, slide number 10. On August the 5th, in the early morning southern sky, you can observe the conjunction of the moon and Neptune, just about 6 degrees apart from each other. You'll need a telescope in order to see the planet Neptune. You can't use binoculars. Neptune's too faint. So if you want to find Neptune, you need a telescope and probably get the star chart. Slide number 11. On August the 8th, in the early morning southeastern morning sky, the moon and Jupiter will be in conjunction. They'll only be about 4 degrees apart from each other. Slide Master, slide number 12. On August the 9th, in the early morning eastern sky, you can find the star cluster of the Pleiades, also known as M45, and the moon in conjunction, and they're only about 2 degrees apart from each other. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 13. Once again, the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting is on Friday, August the 25th, and the meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also held on Zoom. The featured speaker is Madhan Trinalia from the University of Houston, and his topic is about astrobiology. And the astronomy observing sessions have begun again, but there's none that's scheduled for the 5th Saturday of the month. You can check the TAS website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. Now, Slide Master, slide number 14. Do any of you out there in Radio Land have a question or need a fill on any of the information we've covered so far, or do you have just a general astronomy question? Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill. I'm so glad about the question earlier about the much higher sun activity than what we had anticipated. So thank you for doing that. I forget who said that. I should have put an asterisk next to your name. So, Slide Master, slide number 15. So as the moon wanes next week, so do these words for the segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live, at least so far. Until next time, actually I'll be doing another Skynet segment in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. Now, we have a segment called Space Exploration and Space History. I believe Kelly, K5KTX, is the person that's doing that. Kelly, this is all yours from KF5JHA.
Chaz, this is K5KTX. Good evening, everyone. Well, on July 18th through 20th, the team behind NASA's OSIRIS-REx mission rehearsed recovering a mock sample return capsule from the location where the real one, with fragments of asteroid Bennu, will land on September the 24th, the Utah desert. Though the team has rehearsed portions of the recovery operations many times this year, this was the most realistic rehearsal yet, taking place at the Department of Defense's Utah Test and Training Range, about 80 miles southwest of Salt Lake City. Besides taking place at the real landing location, the rehearsal included helicopter training for the OSIRIS-REx team members who will fly by helicopter to retrieve the sample capsule from its landing site inside a 36-mile by 8.5-mile ellipse on the military range. On July 26th, the OSIRIS-REx spacecraft fired its engines for about 63 seconds to slightly thrust itself onto a course closer to Earth. Preliminary tracking data indicates OSIRIS-REx changes velocity, which includes speed and direction, by 1.3 miles per hour. It's a tiny but critical shift. Without course adjustments like this one, the spacecraft would not get close enough to Earth on September 24th to drop off its sample of asteroid Bennu. The spacecraft is currently 24 million miles away, traveling about 22,000 miles per hour toward Earth. Over the next few days, engineers will use data collected before and after today's engine burn, including Doppler radar data, to make sure the maneuver executed as planned and the spacecraft is on the right path. Wednesday's trajectory correction maneuver is the final adjustment needed to set up OSIRIS-REx to return to Earth. Two more maneuvers on September 10th and 17th will target the precise point in Earth's atmosphere where the spacecraft sample return capsule must enter to land on target. So keep that on your calendar. September 24th should be a great day to see that sample be dropped off. In space history for this past week, beginning with July 24th, 1969, the Apollo 11 command module Columbia splashed down in the mid-Pacific. All primary mission objectives and test objectives of the first human trip to the moon were met. The crew, Commander Neil Armstrong, command module pilot Michael Collins, and lunar module pilot Buzz Aldrin, returned in optimal health. All 19,000 hours of audio recordings from the mission are available to download and listen to at nasa.gov/New Apollo Audio. I've read a few Facebook posts from some space hipsters who listened to the mission audio in real time during the anniversary. I think that would be a lot of fun to do sometime if I had 19,000 hours to listen. July the 26th, back in 1971, Apollo 15 launched with its crew, Dave Scott, Al Worden, and Jim Irwin, settling in Earth orbit in about 12 minutes. Less than 3 hours after launch, they fired up the engines again and headed toward the moon. 3 days later, they arrived at the moon and put themselves in orbit. While Worden, command module pilot, stayed on orbit, Scott and Irwin landed on the moon's Hadley-Appomattox Site 51 site. They spent 66 hours and 55 minutes on the lunar surface from touchdown to liftoff. 18 of those hours were spent outside the lunar module, exploring on foot and in the battery-powered lunar roving vehicle, the first car humans drove on the moon. They drove 17.5 miles and collected more than 170 pounds of lunar samples. With a mission duration of 12 days, Apollo 15 was a record-setting mission at the time. It was the first of J-series missions with a lunar module that could carry more equipment and consumables, improved spacesuits, more scientific equipment, and of course, that lunar roving vehicle. Speaking of eclipses, on July the 29th, back in 1878, a total eclipse of the sun was observed from Fort Worth by a party directed by Leonard Waldo, then at Harvard College Observatory. Many observers were recruited both locally and from out-of-state academic institutions. The program included drawings and photography of the solar corona, measurements of polarization, and spectroscopic observations of the changing light from the solar chromosphere. From the latter, W.H. Pulsiver of Washington University in St. Louis deduced a height of the chromosphere of at least 524 miles. David Todd of the Naval Observatory observed from Dallas and produced sketches of the solar corona. So on this date, July 29, 1958, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed the National Aeronautics and Space Act, which established the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA, the national commitment to a broad program of space exploration, including manned spaceflight, came in response to the Soviet Union's successful space launches begun in 1957. In 1961, President John F. Kennedy to reorganize and increase its space establishment. Central to the agency's new future was the construction of a manned space development aggregation, including facilities in Florida, Alabama, and Mississippi. NASA also elected to build a new space management, crew training, and flight control center on Clear Lake in southeastern Harris County, Texas, thanks to the efforts of Texas Congressman Albert Thomas. Finally, this past week, we have several astronauts that celebrated their birthday, beginning with July 25th, 1932, Paul Weiss, who was part of the Skylab 2 mission, as well as Space Shuttle mission STS-6. Also on July the 25th, 1957, Daniel Bursch, who was on Space Shuttle missions STS-51, 68, 77, and part of International Space Station Expedition 4. On July the 26th, 1949, William Shepard, who was part of Space Shuttle missions STS-27, 41, 52, and Expedition 1. July 26, 1951, William MacArthur, Space Shuttle missions STS-58, 74, 92, and Expedition 12. Rounding out the last group of astronauts with birthdays this past week, we have July 27, 1961, Daniel Burbank, who was part of Space Shuttle missions STS-106, 115, and Expedition 2930. July 28, 1961, Scott Parazynski, Space Shuttle missions STS-66, 86, 95, 100, and 120. And finally, July 28, 1970, Robert Bankin, who was on Space Shuttle missions STS-123, 130, and if you remember, he was on the first SpaceX crewed mission, DM-2, and part of Expedition 63. And that's all I've got this evening. This is K5KTX. Back to you, Chess.
Thank you. From Point, Texas, Kelly. All right, the next segment of Skynet is called Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. Slide Master, slide number 16, please. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC50ZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet almost every week from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019 with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. So Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is Draco the Dragon. Draco is the constellation of the dragon, and there's at least 3 different dragons in ancient mythology that Draco could represent. Possibly the best known one is the dragon of Ladon, who guarded the golden apples of his Perseids. I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing these things. Ladon, the dragon, was slain by Hercules so he could obtain the golden apples, which was one of his 12 labors. Unlike Orion and his nemesis, the Scorpion, which are in opposite parts of the sky, Draco and Hercules are adjacent constellations. They're beside each other. Okay, let's see now what you've been waiting for all night long. I know. I should have done this way back at the beginning, opening of Skynet. The jokes of the week. Slide Master, slide number 17, please. Of course, I like that to connect this with the constellation. So what did the tired dragon make for dinner? Filet mignon? It's better if you look at it in print, yeah. Why don't you want to listen to a dragon story? Because they tend to drag on. Why do dragons sleep all day? So they can fight nights. I'm thinking about opening up a Dungeons and Dragons themed vacation rental. I'm going to call it Air D&D. Oh, come on, that's kind of funny, isn't it? Okay. Why did the dragon cross the road? Well, he wanted to eat some chicken. What's the difference between Hanukkah and dragons? One is 8 nights, while the other 8 nights. Think about it. And this is KF5 JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 18, please. The star Thuban, also known as Alpha Draconis, is not the brightest star in Draco at magnitude 3.64. The name Thuban is derived from the Arabic word that for the whole constellation. There has been some speculation why Bayer gave Thuban the alpha designation, even though Adaman outshines it by 1.4 magnitudes. According to Burnham's Celestial Handbook, different astronomers in the past, from ancient times to the 19th century, assigned Thuban different magnitudes, and they suspected the Thuban of being a variable star, though it shows no signs of variability today. Joetta Bayer himself, in his charts of 1603, gave Thuban a larger symbol than Edaman, thereby giving Thuban its alpha designation. Thuban is best known for being the former pole star about 5,000 years ago. You know, during the building of the pyramids, something like that. During the Old Kingdom period of the ancient Egypt. It was the nearest to the true pole star in the year 2830 BC, being less than 10 arc minutes from the North Celestial Pole. That's a whole lot closer than what Polaris is now. Now, another star, Adaman, or Gamma Draconis, I already mentioned it, is the brightest star in Draco at 2.24 magnitude. The name Adaman is derived from the Arabic word that means dragon's head, and of course it appears to be in the dragon's head, and it's yellow, white, and a telescope. Very easy in the naked eye to see. And in fact, it's a double star. But it has a fainter star. The astronomy students at Brookhaven have this star as one of the stars they need to determine their magnitude. Well, okay. Slide Master, slide number 19. Messier object number 102, also known as NGC 5866, in July of 2016, issue of the Texas Astronomical Society newsletter called The Spectrum. Dave Hutchinson writes in his article about M102, and that M102 is really a duplication maybe of M101 and Ursa Major, and is not NGC 5866 in Draco. The Astronomical League's Messier list of 102 as NGC 5866. Stephen James Amir simply lists M102 as a duplicate of observation of M101. Burnham's Celestial Handbook has a photograph of NGC 5866, but doesn't even mention M102 in this section on Draco. Wow, what a controversy. As the object itself, NGC 5866 is a nice edge-on lenticular galaxy known as the Spindle Galaxy. It appears to be somewhat elongated, fuzzy streak that is wider and brighter at its center. Slide Master, slide number 20. NGC 6543 is the Cat's Eye Nebula. The Cat's Eye was the first planetary nebula to be examined spectroscopically by English astronomer William Huggins on August the 29th, 1864, which revealed the planetary nebula to be composed of luminous gas and were not unresolved star clusters in the stars that they thought might have been back then. They thought it could have been a bunch of stars, but just too faint. But he found out it was gas. In a telescope, Cat's Eye observes as a greenish-gray, slightly oval planetary nebula. With averted vision and faint outer glow seems to appear. A much larger telescope would be needed to observe the central star of this planetary nebula. Slide Master, slide number 21, please. New General Catalog, NGC 5907, is an edge-on galaxy known as the Splinter Galaxy or the Needle Galaxy. In moderate telescopes, it looks like a faint fuzzy streak similar to M102, but unlike M102, it is more uniform across than its length. It remains about the same width almost from end to end, getting only slightly thinner at the very tips. Splinter or the Needle are good names for this galaxy. Slide Master, slide number 10214 is the Tadpole Galaxy. This galaxy's unusual extended filament earned its name in Halton's ARPS, a list of peculiar galaxies. Now, one look at it and you'll instantly see why it's called the Tadpole Galaxy. ARP placed this galaxy into a class of galaxies known for narrow filaments, and for this galaxy in particular, he notes a mention of a disturbance inside the west arm filament may originate there. Interesting. The Tadpole Galaxy. Famous observer Barbara Wilson was also able to see this galaxy in her 20-inch F5 Newtonian at 230 power as a small oval, fairly faint with no extension seen. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 23, please. Now, there are a lot more Astronomical League observing program objects than the constellation of Draco the Dragon. I've just given you a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 77 different observing programs, most of which have about 100 objects. So, if you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn a certificate and a pen from the Astronomical League in about a year. Slide Master, slide number 24, and that's Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Draco the Dragon. And I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words on the deep sky objects that I've used, borrowed, and I steal for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now, next time I'll take a look at, I'm not sure, I didn't put that in the script, so I'm not sure what constellation is going to be next week. Okay. This is KF5JHA. Tell you what, let's see if we can get any more check-ins into Skynet. If you have not checked into Skynet and wish to be counted, please come now with your call sign slowly, phonetically, and your name and your location, please.
Good evening, this is Alpha Golf, Niner, Sierra Golf, Antonio in Dallas.
Kilo Golf 5, Alpha Papa Lima, Patrick in Dallas.
Antonio and Patrick, a couple of our regulars, thank you for checking in to Skynet. Okay, I guess we're up to segment number 8, space launches for this week. Tom, KE5ICX. This is KF5JHA. It's all yours for a while.
All right, thank you, Chaz. This is KE5ICX. Go get a glass of water. That's a long time to talk. You got most of the net this evening. Anyway, here we go. Space launches for this week. I get this information from spaceflightnow.com/launch schedule, and you can too. Nearly every one of these launches is streamed somewhere out there, so you may want to just make a few note of these if you're interested in them. First one I have is for July 30th. That's tomorrow. This one is We Love the Nightlife. This will be launched from Launch Complex 1 in the Haya Peninsula in New Zealand. The Rocket Launch Electron rocket is set to launch the first of the Capella Space Next Generation Synthetic Aperture Radar SAR Earth imaging satellite called Acadia. This will be the first launch of these 4 new satellites. The mission was dubbed We Love the Nightlife since the SAR satellites allow for high-resolution imagery at night. The mission will launch from Rocket Lab's Launch Complex LC-1 on the Haya Peninsula. August 1st will be a Northrop Grumman Antares rocket will launch the 20th Cygnus cargo freighter on the 19th operational cargo delivery flight to the International Space Station. The mission is known as NG-19, and the rocket will fly in the Antares 230 Plus configuration with 2 RD-181 first stage engines and Castor 30 XL second stage. This will be the final flight of the Antares 230 Plus rocket before redesign with a new U.S.-made engine. And this will launch from Pad 0A at Wallops Island in Virginia. Next up, we have a Falcon 9 launch on August 3rd. This will launch the Galaxy 37 C-band television broadcasting satellite for Intelsat. The spacecraft was built by Maxar. The Falcon 9's first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. Next, August 17th, will be another Falcon 9 mission. This one will have a manned crew from Launch Complex 39A from Kennedy Space Center. We'll launch a Crew Dragon spacecraft on the program's 12th flight with astronauts. The Falcon 9's first stage will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. NASA astronaut Jasmine Mogbelli, Satoshi Furukawa, and Russian cosmonaut Konstantin Barosov, I think I missed a couple in here, but that's what I got, will launch on the Crew Dragon spacecraft to begin a 6-month expedition on the International Space Station. The crew of 7, the Crew Dragon will return to a splashdown at sea. Another flight to be determined will be the H-2A. This will launch in sometime in August. It will be the X-Risen and Slim spacecraft. This will launch from Launch Pad 1 at Tanegashima Space Center in Japan. The Japanese H-2A rocket, designated H-2A F-47, will launch an X-ray imaging and spectroscopy mission, or X-RISM, a joint project between Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency and NASA. X-RISM is a replacement for the Hitoshi X-ray Astrophysics Observatory, which failed about 1 month after launch in 2016. X-RISM will perform high-resolution X-ray spectroscopic observations of hot gas plasma wind that blows through the galaxies in the universe. These observations will enable us to determine flows of mass and energy, revealing the composition and evolution of celestial objects. JAXA's Smart Lander for Investigating Moon, or SLIM, mission will fly as a rideshare on this flight, heading to the moon to test precision landing technology. The H-2A rocket will fly in a 202 configuration with 2 strap-on solid rocket boosters. We have a Soyuz Progress 85P mission from Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. The Russian government Soyuz rocket will launch the 85th Progress cargo delivery ship to the International Space Station. The rocket will fly in the Soyuz 2.1A configuration with the forgot upper stage, I'll bet. Next, August 29th, Atlas V NRO 107 launch from SLC-41 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. The United States will launch Atlas V rocket will launch in the NRO 107 mission for the National Reconnaissance Office. The mission will launch a classified payload known as Silent Barker. The mission is a partnership between NRO and the U.S. Space Force, which discloses little information about the payload other than it will focus on satellite threat intelligence and space situational awareness. Next up, I think I'll make this the last one. This is to be determined. The Worldview Legion 1 and 2. Still to be determined the launch on a Falcon 9 from SLC-4E in Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch the first pair of Worldview Legion Earth observation satellite Legion high-resolution remote sensing satellites into a mix of sun-synchronous and mid-inclination orbits on 3 SpaceX Falcon 9 rockets. The first stage of the Falcon 9 will return to Landing Zone 4 at the Vandenberg Space Force Base for landing. And that's it from me, Chaz. Brenda, if you want to do the next segment with Brenda, of course, she's still not on the air yet. I can read that for you if you'd like. Just let me know. Back to net control. This is KE5ICX.
Well, thank you. I think I will take you up on that. Actually, my voice is okay. I'm an educator. I get used to talking. Okay. So, let's see now. Oh, the constellation of the month, constellation of the week, next week will be Sagittarius the Centaur. I did look that up while you were giving your little launches and stuff. So, if you wouldn't mind, the next segment is recent astronomical discoveries. Brenda, WB5OZL, is still in a state of flux. No, I don't think she has a flux capacitor, but she's still in a state of flux. Got to talk with her in person, face-to-face, last week at the Frontiers Flight Museum, and it was awesome. I've been seeing a lot of you there. So anyway, Tom, I'm giving you time so you can look it up. I'll let you go ahead and read about dark energy camera captures galaxies. I think that's the one you're going to be talking about. KF5JHA, it's back to you, KE5ICX.
Thank you, Chaz. And you're right, but I'm always amazed that you can hold out as long as you can. I always find really long sessions like this really tough on the old voice. At any rate, here we go. This is what it says. Dark energy camera captures galaxies in lopsided tug-of-war, a prelude to merger. And it says the following. This is from Science Daily. It says, Spiral Galaxy NGC 1532, also known as Halley's Coronet, is caught in a lopsided tug-of-war with its smaller neighbor, the dwarf galaxy NGC 1531. The image, taken by the U.S. Department of Energy Dark Energy Camera, mounted on the National Science Foundation's Victor M. Blanco 4-meter telescope at the Cerebral Tololo Inter-American Observatory in Chile, a program of NSF lab, captures the mutual gravitational influences of the massive dwarf galaxy merger. Now, I'm going to tell you something. That was all one sentence. Bad. Galaxies grow and evolve over billions of years by observing nearly complete companions and merging with other galaxies. The early stages of this galactic growth process are showcased in a new image taken with the U.S. Department of Energy's Dark Energy Telescope. The massive barred spiral galaxy, NGC 1532, also known as Halley's Coronet, is located at 55 million light-years away in the direction of the southern constellation Eridanus, the river. Its sweeping spiral arms are seen to edge on from Earth, with a nearer arm dipping downward at the receding arm lurching upward as it tugs along a smaller dwarf companion galaxy, NGC 1531. These gravitationally bound galaxies will eventually become one, as NGC 1532 completely consumes its smaller companion. Despite its small stature, however, the dwarf galaxy has been exerting a noticeable gravitational influence on its larger companion, distorting one of its arms, which can be seen rising above the galactic plane. Additionally, plumes of gas and dust can be seen between the two galaxies like a bridge of stellar matter held in place by the competing tidal forces. This interaction has also triggered bursts of star formation within both galaxies. This lopsided cosmic tug-of-war is a snapshot of how large galaxies grow and evolve by devouring smaller galaxies, absorbing their stars and star-forming material. A similar process has happened in the Milky Way galaxy, possibly 6 times in the past, leaving vast streams of stars and other signs in the halo of the Milky Way. The process of absorbing a smaller companion galaxy is starkly different from the cataclysmic merger of 2 spiral galaxies of comparable size. In the latter case, 2 massive galaxies collide to form an entirely distinct galaxy with its own shape and characteristics. This type of galactic merger will happen in the Milky Way when it merges with the Andromeda Galaxy 4 billion years from now. DECCAM, within its unparalleled wide-field merging capabilities, gives astronomers highly detailed views of these large-scale galactic interactions. It also has remarkable sensitivity with the help of the 4-meter Blanco telescope needed to detect faint objects in our solar system and to trace the influence of dark matter on satellites across the visible universe. Currently, DECCAM is used for programs covering a wide range of science. And I wish I had had a photograph of that, but I pulled something else up instead. Oh well, talking about galactic mergers. But it's really kind of geeky anyway, but I wish I had the photo instead. But I didn't. Okay, Chaz, it's back to you for now. This is KE5ICS.
I should have scanned the script earlier. Guess who's up next? Oh, it's not me. Nope. But thank you, Tom. This is your long period of time being on Skynet. So we're up to visible satellite passages over the next few days. That can be found at heavens-above.com. And Tom usually talks about that. Tom, would you like to tell us about the ISS and Tinggong and some other satellites that might be visible over the next week or so?
Oh, sure. I've been sloughing off all evening long, just listening in to your wonderful golden voice. So, yeah, I can do that. And I'll do so right now. So, we have a few passes. The International Space Station is always a favorite. August 1st has a great pass, minus 3.5 magnitude. That's very bright. It's at 2136 out of the northwest. It'll reach its highest point of 60 degrees at 2140. This is all local time, based in Louisville, by the way. And it will fall at 2141 to the south-southeast. Following evening, we have a minus 3.6 magnitude, even brighter. 2048 in the evening, out of the northwest once again. It'll reach its highest point at 2051 at 64 degrees, and it'll fall to the southeast at 2054. And then finally, we have on August 4th another good pass, minus 2.3 magnitude. That's 2048 in the evening. Out of the west-northwest, it'll reach its highest point at 33 degrees at 2051. It'll fall to the south-southeast at 2054. Next up is Tiangong Space Station. This one has a good pass on August 1st. There's actually 2, but the better one is minus 2.2 magnitude at 5:52 a.m. It'll reach its highest point at 5:55 at 71 degrees, and it'll fall to the south-southwest at 5:58. I'm sorry, to the southeast at 5:58. August 2nd has a good pass, minus 1.7 magnitude, 4:55 in the morning, and the north-northwest. It reaches its highest point at 4:56 at 60 degrees, and it'll fall to the east-southwest at 4:59. August 5th has a good pass. That one is minus 2.3 magnitude. This one's at 2140 in the west-southwest. It'll reach its highest point at 2144 at 83 degrees, and it'll fall to the east-northeast at 2145. August 7th, has another good pass, 1.3 magnitude, 2119 in the morning. I'm sorry, 2119 in the evening and west-southwest to reach its highest point at 50 degrees. And 2122 will fall to the northeast at 2125. Finally is the Hubble Space Telescope, the Hubble Space Telescope, August 4th. 2 passes. The better one is, wait a minute, let me double check this. Yes, 1.4 magnitude at 6:10 a.m. Out of the west-southwest to reach its highest point, 40 degrees in the south, and it'll fall to the east-southeast at 6:18. August 6th has a decent pass, 1.2 magnitude at 5:42 a.m. Reached its highest peak performance. August 7th, 1.2 magnitude at 5:27, about 20 minutes earlier. It'll be out of the southwest, reach its highest point at 43 degrees, almost at the same point, 5:29 that evening, and it'll fall to the east to southwest, at 5:33. And there you have it, Chaz, all the good stuff. Actually, you got some pretty good passes, some of our less popular satellites with some good quality passes. We don't always get those, so it's kind of nice to see. Back to you, Chaz, KE5I6.
Thank you so much, Tom. This is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. We're getting close to the end. I just thought I'd let you know that Kelly over on Echolink said she saw a bunch of satellites at a star party this last Monday at Mineola. So you can see them. I saw on the news report sometime earlier this week that some people actually used their cell phones and saw a SpaceX launch of satellites from the Dallas area. So that's kind of cool. They just used their phones and say, "Hey, look at this. What's this thing in the sky?" And then they saw either the staging of the SpaceX or actually the launch of the satellites. It was, I'm not sure what it was. So interesting. All right, let's see now. Are there any questions? Need any fills on anything we've had tonight? Or do you have just a comment that you'd like to let us know about? Come down with your call sign if you need a fill or have a comment.
KG5RJV, I had a question about something that happened a few months ago.
John, go ahead. Come with your question.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I was wondering if if there was an effect on that asteroid that they ran that spacecraft into. Were they able to measure any kind of a deviation in its trajectory?
I believe the answer is yes. And you know what, Kelly, if you don't mind. She's the NASA Solar System Ambassador that we have on the air right now. She's over on Echolink. Kelly, could you tell us some more information about that? Do you have any more information?
K5KTX, and yes, it did make a little bit of difference. And just for fun, if you will go out to Google and enter DART mission, kind of fun what it does there. But anyway, it did make an impact, and I'm just looking here because I don't remember all the details. It said that it released about 19 gigajoules of energy and excavated a crater of up to about 490 feet wide. Let me see if it talks about... They used both the Hubble and the James Webb Space Telescope and several Earth-based telescopes. The Atlas Observatory all detected that there was a plume of ejecta from the from the impact.
Normal state.
And that there was an impact trail that was over 10,000 kilometers long. And it says the initial estimates of the change in the orbital period. Let's see. Oh, it just says that they don't have that information yet, but they're expecting to get that. There's another project from the European Space Agency called HERA that is actually going to Didymos to kind of do an assessment of the DART impact. So that was the double asteroid redirection test or DART mission. So I don't have all the details. I did read a while back ago that it did make an impact. I just don't have all the exact details, and I don't want to take up a lot of time here to look that up. But you can probably look it up. Again, go to Google and search for DART mission, D-A-R-T mission, and see what happens. This is K5KTX.
Okay, roger that. Hey, I appreciate you giving me that information to look up. So, yeah, I was curious to know whether, or not that was going to be, I know they wanted to see if that was actually going to change the direction of the asteroid. And gosh, that's a big crater. I mean, 500 feet. My goodness, that, for a spacecraft that really wasn't made for a for an explosion.
Well, thank you, Kelly. Thank you, John, so much. We're at the end of our tether here for Skynet. So, I'll tell you what, do we have any more people that want to check in before we close the net? Come now with your call sign phonetically, slowly, your name and your location if you'd like to check into Skynet. James, you were noisy, but I got you. All right, so we have now 29 hams that checked into Skynet tonight. So thank you, everyone, for signing in. Let's see now. Hope you've enjoyed us here, and you can enjoy us next week as well, and every Saturday night from 9 p.m. until 10:30 to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We go beyond that. We are always looking for net control stations for this and all other DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at this, you can contact one of the net controls or by just sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussions about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net, which is going to take place in just seconds. So until next Saturday night, this is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha Chaz, and I'll be closing the net at 10:32:31 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 73, everybody, enjoy exploring and discovering things in the universe. Mr. Tom, would you like to give us a time when we're going to meet for Afterglow?
Why, thank you, Chaz, and thank you for doing a great net this evening. Very interesting, and you were very popular over on YouTube as well. Yes, we will be back in about 5 minutes to discuss the masterpiece from 1976, Track of the Moon Beast. Yeah, it's that good. We'll see you then, 5 minutes from now. KE5ICX. All right. Well, if you can drag yourself away from Star Trek over on MeTV and the big hippie fest going on right now, we have an even better, well, maybe not, movie to discuss this evening, Track of the Moonbeast from 1976. But as it turns out, it actually was filmed in 1972. But we'll talk about that in just a moment. So what is the Afterglow Movie Net? Well, you probably already know, and if you don't, I'm going to tell you anyway. We decide on a movie that we're going to watch for a time period of 7 days. You can go watch the movie with us on Friday evenings at 8 o'clock, or you can watch it by yourself in the privacy of your own home and decide whether you want to watch the whole thing or not. We watched it last night, and somehow or another we all got through it, 4 of us. And I bet you we're all here ready to discuss it. So what is it? Track of the Moonbeast was a 1976 horror film directed by Richard Ashe and written by Bill Finger and Charles Sinclair. That's wonderful. It concerns a mineralogist who is hit in the head by a meteor. You think he'd be dead from that, which subsequently turns him into a vicious reptilian creature during a full moon. Okay. Lodged in his brain, the meteorite causes him to transform into a strong and vicious lizard, the titular moon beast, whenever the moon comes out. In his lizard form, Paul loses all traces of his human self and goes about killing people at random. Well, some of those people deserved it. While human, Paul is subject to spells of dizziness and nausea, as is the audience, causing his girlfriend, Kathy Nolan, and his friend and former anthropology professor, Johnny Longbow, I make great chili, Salinas, to become concerned. Concerning, my favorite word. Eventually, it is shown that Paul is the monster and deduces that the meteorite fragment in his brain is the cause of his transformation. Plans are made to remove it from his skull, but the NASA brain surgeons, who are always on call for such things, realize after another x-ray and Johnny remembering some Native American legends documenting similar phenomenon that the meteorite has disintegrated and will eventually cause Paul to self-combust. Paul learns of this and he escapes into the desert on a motorcycle, presumably to kill himself, so he will not cause any more harm. When Johnny recalls that Paul's favorite place was always Sandia Crest, Kathy, Johnny, and local law enforcement officers follow him there. Johnny shoots with an arrow made of the original meteorite, which causes him, not Johnny, but causes Paul to explode. The end. And because it's such a good film, here we go. This Track of the Moonbeast was made in 1972 with the expectation that it would be released theatrically. It never picked up a distributor. However, it finally premiered on television on June 1st, 1976. First released on DVD in 2001, along with Creature and Snow Beast in the set Classic Creature Movies 2. It's been repackaged with other public domain movies and several DVD releases, including Chilling Classics, 50 Fright Classics, and Drive-In Classics, all at one time or another available. The reception was, critical response has been predominantly negative. I can't imagine that. John Kenneth Muir considers the film to be, quote, a failure in every way, criticizing its special effects, acting, and story. Muir did note that despite its numerous negative aspects, the film had a quirky charm to it, similar to that of other low-budget 1970 films, such as The Crater Lake Monster and The Giant Spider Invasion. Who can forget those? TV Guide panned the film, saying, quote, although this premise is ripe with comedic opportunities, the production is hampered by classically inept filmmaking, and the story unfolds so slowly one begins to think the film is running in reverse. The acting is even worse. Still, horror fanatics will find some interest in Joe Blasco's lizard makeup. On the Horror, that's the name of the something, gave it a negative review. Ridiculous. Now here's something you're probably going to be hitting yourself in the head if you did watch this film. It was featured as a season 10 episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000. Fodder for mockery includes, but not limited to, the brain-dead expression of the lead actress, the horrible dialogue, and the suggested name and seductive nature of the character Johnny Longbow, who the MST3K characters repeatedly refer to as Johnny Longbow. An entire host segment with Mike Nelson in the style of VH1's Behind the Music is devoted to the band that plays California Lady, which we sang all through last night's performance. The scene in which Johnny names ingredients is too quickly becomes a running gag and one of the writer's favorite moments from the series. Writer Kevin Murphy has said that Johnny's world-weary sigh of onion made him one of the best characters they've ever encountered. Track the Moon Beast episode was included in the 38th MST3K DVD set released on March 28, 2017. Who says a bad movie can't be better? There you go. So here's the game. I'm going to go ahead and take check-ins. Once I have check-ins, I'm going to, as we go, ask you if you, with the check-ins, I'm going to ask you if you saw the film or not. If you didn't, that's okay, because we're going to ask you if you want to see this film ever again, and does it remind you of any possible other film with a similar storyline? And I can't imagine what that would be at all, ever, but you might. So we'll do that, and then we will discuss the movie plot, followed by characterization, followed by special effects and music, followed by whatever you want to talk about. Or we can all go to bed early because we probably deserve it. So I will now take check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening to discuss tonight's movie, Track of the Moon Beast, not Base. We had a Base last week. Moon Beast from 1976. Please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see this fine film? So let's start.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas. I saw the MST3K version.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean Fort Worth. Yes, I've seen this film.
November Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth. Yes, I saw it.
Kilo India 5, Kilo Whiskey Golf. Cruise in Arlington. Under advice of my attorney, I will neither confirm nor deny that I ever saw this film.
All right, the usual suspects have checked in. We'll start with NT5TM Tony in Dallas. Yes, he saw the MST3K version. And KB9SOK, Sean in Fort Worth, yes, he saw the film. NV5F, Virginia in Fort Worth, she reluctantly saw the film, but managed to sit through the entire thing. And KI5KWG, Cruz in Arlington, he won't say if he did or did not. I know he did because I was chatting with him during this fine film. Okay, anyone else want to join us? Tonight's movie is Track to the Moon Beast from 1976. It's coming to close. All right, Brenda says here, I'm watching her on Facebook. She says, please check me in. She'll have some comments like she did last time, so I'll put her in. Brenda, she did see the film. She's in Dallas now. And one of these days we're going to get her radio set up. Soon, I promise. Soon. Anyone else want to check in? Please come out. All right, I'll call that a quorum, and we'll go ahead and start at the top. Tony was very enthusiastic, and then the enthusiasm dropped off precipitously as the check-in continued. So we'll start with Tony, NT5TM. Tony, what did you think about the plot, and how did the MST3K version help make this movie so much better? Because I know it had to. It couldn't have been any worse. From KE5ICX.
Well, thank you, Tom. I really had a great time. The plot of the original movie itself seemed to suffer a lot of strange problems. Oh boy, I don't even know which round to put them all in. If you're the visiting professor with the beard and the thick glasses and everything, and you actually go to your patients, because you're a doctor, and you predict that they're going to spontaneously combust, you're going to be in a lot of trouble with the state medical board, let me tell you. Likewise, I found some parts of the plot ominous and threatening in real life. If moon meteorites make you turn into one of your pets, because the protagonist had a lizard, I'm going to become either a giant rampaging parrot or an evil demonic chihuahua. I don't know, neither of those are really good movie fodder. So I suspect the plot of the original movie was tedious, overlong, and boring, but this was one of the more tightly written MST3K episodes. You know, sometimes they interject too many gags that don't work. Sometimes the invention exchange is really lame. This episode didn't have one of those, not the right season. This was just really tight, a gag a minute. It was helped a lot by the fact that the protagonist had William Shatner disease and kept speaking as if every phrase was a complete sentence, giving lots and lots of room for, it would have been a great, like, Rocky Horror Picture Show, lots of room for audience screamers. I think perhaps my favorite was a line given to the female protagonist by the crowd. Hello, I'm wearing terry cloth. Is there anything you need me to absorb? I just whooped when I heard that. So it's a great MST3K episode. I found the writing very tight, the gags really good and timely, and it was so courteous of the actual actors in the alleged movie to give lots and lots of unnecessary dramatic pauses so that the MST3K gang could insert screamer lines. So it's an episode I heartily recommend, but no, I have no intention of watching the original movie. I suspect it's horrendous. NV5TM.
Oh man, now you make me feel bad that I didn't watch the MST3K. I think you mentioned it, and then I completely forgot about it, that it was available. Now I wish I'd seen it. And you're right, the pacing is just really slow, long pauses in between dialogue. I think it's because the script was only like 15 pages long, so they had to make it into an hour-and-a-half movie. Okay, next up is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, your thoughts on the plot for our fine film from 1976.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, I almost watched the version Tony watched,
and now I wish I had have. The only thing that stopped me is, as Tony mentioned, sometimes they overdo it, and sometimes you can't hear the dialogue at all, so it's kind of hard to review a movie when you don't really know what really happened. But now I wish I'd watched that one, because, yes, you're right, Tony, the real one was very slow, very tedious, and very painful. Everything was bad about it. But there could be a little bit, I think Tom challenged us to compare this to another movie, and I guess we kind of could in a way. We did just a few weeks ago actually saw, from our Apollo 18 secret mission that moon rocks are alive. So maybe this has some credence after all. So yeah, that moon rock did get bounced off there and came down through the planet and smacked him in the head. And so yeah, maybe that it did get absorbed into him somehow. But that's kind of, the whole thing was ridiculous from the very beginning, from that very part, that how a rock with that much velocity can fly through the air, hit him in the head and only give him a scratch, but yet somehow it bent into his brain. So yeah, very, very weird indeed. And then I wondered if it was because he had the lizard's why he turned into a lizard. So yeah, I think you answered my question there, Tony. So you had the same thought. So I guess that means better happens to me that I'll become a giant raging chinchilla. So, because that's the only pet I have. So it's so there we go. No, in other words, not a lot to say about this movie. Yeah, the whole thing was rough. The whole thing was ridiculous. Everything from him turning into a lizard. And the other thing that was interesting, too, is that he turned into this lizard running around killing people. But when he came back, he was fully clothed again. So that was weird. I guess he has the same thing that the Hulk has, I guess. So that was weird. And then, there's the other scene at the end where, she steals the Indian's car, runs off with it, but yet he managed to keep up with her on foot to kill the beast with his super accurate bow that he handmade, which you knew that was going to be the weapon from the very moment that they introduced the bow. You knew that was going to be the weapon of choice. But yeah, there's just so many ridiculous points in this movie. I just finally gave up writing down the ridiculous points because it was just bad from front to beginning. But most of all, the pacing was horrendous. And we'll get to the acting in the next round. All right, that's about all I really got. Back to that, KP9S, okay.
Thank you, Sean. And I wondered what happened to Ty, the Wonder Lizard, but yes, I guess they were mixed together and became the monster of choice. Chinchilla aside. Okay, let's see. Virginia, NV5F, Virginia, you were very active discussing the film. And I know one of your favorite things was the musical number, California Lady. So please, go ahead. Tell us what you think about this fine film and the plot from KE5IC6.
Okay. Well, first off, I think we should retitle this the track of Moonbase 3 and watch Moonbase 3 episode 2 and see if the monster they try to introduce is some kind of lizard. That would be kind of cool. Well, God, it was bad and slow, and I don't know if there's a whole lot I can add about the plot. It was very predictable. It was your typical... It was, instead of a werewolf, he was a were-lizard every time the moon came out. I guess it connected with the rock thing that was somehow lodged in his head, and maybe it gave that meteorite some kind of energy that made him fuse with his lizard and become a lizard. I don't know. It was a standard horror movie, monster movie, misunderstood monster. The monster's girlfriend figures out he's the monster, and she still loves him anyway, enough to be around him even if he could kill her, and of course he always ends up getting killed at the end. There wasn't much here that you couldn't kind of figure out what was going to happen. If I were fused, well, I don't have any pets. I have 6 purple aliens. The Boov, B-O-O-V, Boov. So I guess if I were hit in the head with a lunar meteorite, I would become a very angry but cute, soft, cuddly, purple, six-legged, tunic-wearing, curly-eared alien. That would be what I would turn into, I guess. So, anyway, that's it. I'm keeping that short because it's a pretty, there's only so much you can say about it. Plus, I just really want to hear what Cruz has to say about this because he takes notes. So, anyway, back to net, K5ICX NV5F.
Excellent. Yes, Virginia, I agree. And yes, Cruz does take notes. He takes copious notes, and he's next on the list. So be ready, and because you're going to be educated here. Here we go. Cruz, KI5KWG, your thoughts, comments, notes on tonight's movie, Track of the Moon Beast, from 1976, not to be confused with Moon Base. Please go ahead.
KI5KWG. Yes, I took notes. And it's funny, too, because I watched this over, 4 days, 25 minutes at a time. It was all I could handle. But I started, you could tell from my notes, that I started with such high hopes and expectations. My first comment is, cool opening observatory scene just before digital camera era took over observational, I guess. Wait, what? A charcoal briquette? I actually wrote that. The next one was, Navajo scene was interesting before the right stuff, the Aboriginal scene, very similar. See, I was paying attention, and I was thinking this was like a real story about to be told. And if you're not familiar with the right stuff scene, I'm talking about is the communications array that they had in Aboriginal Australia, and they had all this sparks flying up at the same time during Glenn's flight, where he was seeing fireflies sort of things outside of his window. And it had this mystical concept to it. Let me reset. And then my next note, after having these high hopes and aspirations for this film, I have, I just read it was written over a weekend. And then we had the large media strike to the moon, and there was no film of it. And then I quit taking notes. And I remember I was laughing when she was asking, why do you call him Johnny Longbow? Because the explanation was that, well, we call it Johnny Longbow because that's his Indian name. And it means he who can strike his prey with a bow at a long distance. That was funny, y'all. So I got it together, and I made it up to the chili recipe scene, and I lost it again, and I thought this is going to be the funniest bad movie I've ever seen. But that was the peak. I actually still get tickled. So I'm so glad I watched this film, and it was so bad and so ridiculous. But like Tony, I'm really glad I watched it. It was something that I'll probably remember for a long time. Okay, so that's what I had for you on this. KI5, KWG, back to net.
Oh my. Okay. Yes. I guess it is funny when you think about it. Oh, jeez. All right. Let's see here. I've got Brenda's comments. She says the following. My comments. Just because you can make a movie doesn't mean you should make a movie. That sounds like a familiar quote. This one should have been smothered in its crib. The plot was so dumb, with holes. They don't explain why a fragment of asteroid turns him into a lizard, and when the moon rises. Totally illogical. And she says, over. That's radio parlance, where she doesn't have any more comments. So let me go ahead and ask. Okay, we've got so Brenda likes the film. Anyone else like to check in? Please come now as you call, sign your name. And did you see Track of the Moon Beast from 1976? Please come now. All right, everyone's hiding. They don't want to say they saw the film, or maybe they didn't see it at all. I don't know why they would not want to see it, but there you have it. So here's some things. California lady, not to be confused with any other California dreaming or any of the other stuff. I've been wandering in circles. You sent something. Oh, I sent that. Drinking more than I can stand. California lady, bring your love to me. Isn't that great? What lyrics? What a great song. It's even credited in the movie. Let's see. Yes, there was, it was quite a period piece. We had shag carpet. In fact, the body was lost inside the shag carpet for a while. We didn't even notice. Couldn't find it. You had to get a rake out to find the body. But, yeah, it's pretty bad. Pretty bad. Charcoal briquette, yes. The meteorite at the very beginning. I know this is special effects, but yeah, the briquette, it hits the moon or thinks it's going to hit the moon. Pretty bad effect. But then there's the monster. It looked pretty good in very dark, blurry vision for a monster. And everybody loved Ty, the Wonder Lizard, because Ty was the star of the show. I don't know what to say about it. It was very slow. It took forever for them to get through, and they did a lot of exposition, which means they didn't have anything to add to the script. So they're busy talking about their lives and how wonderful they are, and I'm thinking, God, this is going on, and we're not going anywhere with it. And you know, even the kids didn't do anything dumb. They didn't go running into a basement somewhere, or they were just boring. I was hoping they'd get killed off, but geez, not so lucky. That's always the best part, especially when you get the teenagers involved and they're doing stupid things and hiding behind rocks and stuff. That eventually they get their comeuppance and killed. But it turned out it was the senior citizens there in Albuquerque that got killed off. The poor guy on his bowling night, jeez. And who knows, he may have had a perfect game and we didn't even know it, and he died. I wonder who got his bowling ball. That would be important. His wife didn't like him. I don't know. I can see why he went bowling, because all she did was smoke all evening long and wait for him to come home and lock the door and tell him to go sleep in the car with his friend Ty, the Wonder Lizard. But, I don't know. It was just kind of, okay. I wonder if they ever made any other movies beyond this one. I'll have to go and look and see, because it was pretty bad. Okay, now, next up is characterization. We had a whole bunch of people that are in this film. All of them just really wonderful characters. But especially Frank Larrabee, the lead singer for whatever that California lady thing was. So we'll start at the top. Tony, what do you have to say about our cast and crew, cast and actors on our film this evening from KE5ICS?
Well, characters. One of them, some movies are very unfair with the eye candy, where the woman is always walking around in half of a fur bikini, and the men are wearing, spacesuits or something. No, this movie was very even-handed. The lead male protagonist had a severe allergy to wearing shirts, and he stuck with that the entire time, and he was in very good shape. And that's certainly the best thing I can say about his acting was that he never skipped a day at the gym. That's a wonderful thing in an actor. But usually I prefer Tom Servo. I think my favorite character in this movie this time was Crow T-Robot. Crow, got his head hit with a golf club in the cause of comedy. He really put all of his plastic heart into his art and into various gags. And so without a doubt, Crow was the best character in the movie. As far as the characters in the real movie, don't skip a day at the gym because you sure can't act. NT5TM.
Wow, that was quick. Okay, let's move on to Sean. KB9SOK, what did you think of characterization and acting in our fine film this evening from KE5ICX?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, if I'd watched the one Tony did, I'm sure there definitely would have been much better acting. As it's already been mentioned, our protagonist was, he was about as boring to watch as the movie was. Not a whole lot. It's just pretty rough. And it wasn't particularly well written either. And then, the young lady, the photographer, her dialogue wasn't much better either. I found it interesting that they went on a half date and they magically fell in love after that. That was awful quick, and she was willing to die for him. So I guess that's something about her character. And then, our bow-wielding doctors. So, I would have to say the best actor in this was probably Ty the Lizard. I think he wins it because he didn't have to say anything, and he was probably the lucky one. So, unfortunately, not a lot to add to this round either. Back to net, KB9SOK.
All right. Thank you, Sean. I'm looking through some of our notes from last night. There are some funny comments. I'll make note of them here in a little bit. Okay, well, next up, Virginia, NV5F. Virginia, what did you think of characterization on our film this evening from KE5ICX?
Well, let's see. It was your standard student-level movie acting. I think, Tom, I'm not even going to steal your comment. I think you're going to probably say it about the actress. So I'm not even going to... I almost stole that from you. Let's see. I'm with Tony on Crow. I didn't see the MST3K version of this, but Tom Servo he's such a... he's so dramatic, and he's such a great singer. But Crow is just genuine, he just out every time, and that's what I love about Crow. He just completely throws himself into everything he's doing. Usually parts are flying off of him, and he's just so full of heart. He's always been my favorite. And I do remember a remark that Cruz made in our comments about fur bikinis and how that would somehow add to this movie, and I'm pretty old-fashioned and definitely have a lot of respect for people of my gender, and I even despite that, I wouldn't take issue with that remark. I think he might be right. I'm so empathetic that just the premise here and the idea. And especially at the end, the girlfriend is devoted to her boyfriend, and he's just this sweet guy who's kind of shy and isolated, and he's got his friend the lizard, and even though the acting is bad and the story's real predictable and everybody's really stereotypical, I still by the end actually felt for him. I really was very sad for him. He found out the doctors weren't telling him the whole truth, and they overheard what was going on. He goes and decides to sacrifice himself and jump out of the Sandia Peak cable car, which I have actually ridden before. It's a pretty spectacular ride. I will say that it's not a plot thing, and maybe I should save it for the end, but I'll have to talk about my time on Sandia Peak years ago. It was pretty neat. but sad ending in a really nice location. And, you know, like I said, actors, okay, fair to poor. But me being an empathetic creature, I actually found the character of Paul, you know, a tragic thing, and even the acting was good enough that I kind of felt for him at the end. And you know, that's saying something. He at least acted a little bit, and I think there was a little something to his acting anyways. So yeah, I'm really having to try hard not to spill other people's great ideas on them. So anyway, yeah, all hail Crow. Back to net in V5F.
All right, thank you, Virginia. And yeah, MST3K version would have been better. Okay, Cruz, come on back. You're up already. KI5KWG, pull out your notes on the acting. We want to hear what you have to say about this cast of, I don't know, 12.5 people from KE5ICF.
KI5KWG. I only have one note on the acting. I'm sorry, I'm still tickled. I wrote down for a photographer, she sure poses a lot. That was the only thing I had there. Other than I think, yeah, down here there's worse dialogue. And then I have a note about something I mentioned last night. I don't know that y'all noticed the same thing I did, but I thought the Kathy character, the photographer, the terry cloth girl, seemed that she, the actress, not the character, was very, very nervous in that apartment scene, and that bothered me. It took me out of the storyline, which of course wasn't difficult to do, but that bothered me. Like, there's something going on that set that's not right, and she's very upset about it while they were filming. And I had that same impression of the mean lady who locked her bowling husband out of the house. I thought the same thing. She seemed very, very ill at ease and actually anxious when there was no need for the character to be showing that. So I was like, something's going on the set that's really strange. So that kind of took me out of the story, and I don't know what I was picking up on, just how I viewed it. But I thought, hey, give it again. We make this excuse, or at least I do, so often. When the script's that bad, how much can you blame the acting? And I don't know the answer to that, but I kind of want to forgive them for having to deal with this, and they were probably hungry and just needed hamburger money. But so I'm not going to critique too much on this, but that chili recipe scene was pretty spectacular comedy to me, and I'm going to get tickled again. KI5KWG, back to that.
Oh, Cruz, I think that you got way too much enjoyment out of this movie that nobody else could, and it's amazing. But that's fine, as long as you got entertained from this, whatever this was we watched. But good. All right, Brenda has her comments. She says the following: casting. Oh, she does mention, I like the film, you're such a liar, she says to me. I'm sure that's in the most positive way possible. Casting. I'm pretty sure no one in this film ever worked again, but at least they got to star in one film by Lizard Productions. In bad movies like this, I hope they all die, but I was sorry that Paul died. But it would have been fun to see him self-combust. Instead, he got shot with a magic meteorite. Over. All right, I would agree with that. So my comments are as follows. There was Dr. Ratso Rizzo. That was played by Fred McMurray or somebody like that. He was the guy that just kind of like the NASA guy, and he's talking in hushed tones. He doesn't want Paul to hear all of the bad news that he's going to combust. He's got a meteorite in his head, and they're not going to tell him anything. And then the next thing they know, they got him strapped to a table in a hospital. There's something coming in over the intercom. I couldn't understand it, but they made it sound like it was really a hospital. So I can imagine them film crew there, and they've got him all tied up and everything, because they got to have that scene where he turns into the Ty the Wonder Lizard. So at any rate, I don't know. And he lost his shirt again. Apparently, his shirt comes off a lot without even knowing why. But yeah, that's fine. I guess it works. Let's see, who else? Paul himself, he was okay as a character. He was just kind of boring like everybody else was in the movie, but, he had a chance, and everybody actually had empathy for the guy. Our group didn't want to see him die, which is pretty much what we all want to see, is the characters die horrible deaths, horrible lingering deaths, much like their careers, which I'm sure is what happened, because most of these people never worked again. The newscaster guy kept telling us we're going to have film, and we never saw any film about the event because they didn't have any money for it. He was Mr. Exciting, I got to say. Frank, the amazing lead singer, he was good singing his California Lady song. There were some other doctors, I don't remember what they did. And then there's Johnny Longbow Salinas. By the way, there was something interesting about that. He'd go in and shout, see what you can do with it. He happens to have him in the back of his car. He just carries his longbow with him. And then he goes, and the kids have been shooting, right? This thing, and the target. And so he says, here, I want you to hold these 2 husks of corn, and I'm going to go ahead and shoot them. Just hold them out. Nothing could go wrong, except if he coughed, he would have killed the guy and shot him through the heart or something. But hey, it doesn't matter. Watch the kids. Kids are there watching the same thing. So, are they going to try this the minute they leave? Of course they are. And little Billy and Jimmy are going to end up with, looking like porcupines trying to shoot each other with their bows because Johnny Longbow did it, so it's got to be a good thing to do. Very bad indeed. Now, one of the things they mention in here, and there is the only hot link in here for Joni Blasco as the Moon Beast. Now, Joe, baby, has something to say. Listen to this. It says, Blasco has worked in Hollywood for 50 years and founded his own cosmetics company in 1983. In 1973, he founded the John Blasco Makeup Training Center in Hollywood and later opened a second location in Orlando, Florida in 1991. During the 70s and 80s, he worked on a variety of television shows, including The Red Skelton Show. Hey, Red's involved. The Dating Game, The Newlywed Game, General Hospital, Good Morning America, and The Carol Burnett Show. He directed makeup for films such as Isa, She-Wolf of the SS, that sounds like a good one, Albert Einstein, the man behind the genius, Werewolf of Woodstock, ooh, and Shivers, and was a personal makeup artist for such actors as, are you ready for this, Orson Welles, Olivia Neutron-Bomb, Marlene Dietrich, Lauren Bacall, and Bette Midler. He has been credited with inventing the bladder technique found in horror movies as well as special effects such as blisters and skin rashes. In 2004, he was given the Distinguished Service Award, Achievement Award in makeup category from the United States Institute for Theater Technology. So this guy was big news, and he's the one that wore and probably created that fine Moonbeast suit. So now you know the rest of the story. I just thought I'd mention that. So he was the actor, and he also he was the Moonbeast. He created the Moonbeast suit, blisters and all. Let's see. Anyone else I want to say about this fine cast? Probably not. No. Oh, the police chief, McCabe. He was great. Boy, talk about a guy who was boring and just, well, let's go over to the community college. They got a lot of good information there. And then his office, I guess. I don't know if that was his office or he was elsewhere, but he has 10,000 million books. When does that guy have time to read? He's a police captain. He's got to go and take care of Ty the Wonder Lizard murders and things. He doesn't have time to read. And what does he read? He doesn't seem to know much from all that reading he did with the 10,000 books he's got in his little library, or not so little library. I don't know. Not as bad as the guy in that one movie with the parakeet that he carried around with him and taught him tricks, how to, put handcuffs on criminals and things. But I don't know. Any rate, okay. That's it on that one. Anyone else want to check in before I go to the top of the list, talk about the not-so-special effects? Please come now. Silence. Okay, let's go to the top. Next is special effects, music, whatever you want to talk about, anything you may have missed along the way. That goes to Tony, NT5TM. Tony, your comments from KE5ICX.
Well, Tom, I just want to thank you for suffering with us and thank everyone else for their comments. It's the people who make a net worthwhile, because this movie certainly wasn't worth the trouble. But I have no further comments about the movie. Just want to appreciate the rest of you. NT5TM.
Okay, well, that's fine. Next up, Sean, KB9SOK. For your final comments on our fine film this evening.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, not a lot to really add. Other than, it's always fun hearing everybody. I'm glad Cruz truly got tickled by this movie and found something that he'll remember for a long time. That's maybe the funniest part about this whole thing. The song they sung, I wasn't particularly impressed with it, but apparently you guys were on the Friday night viewing, which I've really got to figure out how to get into Facebook to follow you guys on that. But other than that, always interesting. Looking forward to next week. Back to net, KB9SOK.
All right, thank you, Sean. And I do have a better movie for you this coming week. So next up, Virginia, NV5F. Virginia, your final comments on our fine film.
Oh, these movies, they come up every now and then, and it always makes me think of being a film student and just the bad one-point lighting and the big cast shadows, with no fill, and the crappy soundtrack with the really low-end, noise all the way through it, and the muffled audio, and then the echoey audio because they can't seem to put the microphones in the right place. There was one scene where I think they were supposed to be out on the patio, and it sounded like they were in a bathroom. That was really great. So for me, it's just technical, just dark. There's a recording, a better one on Prime that you can watch of this. This was really bad. It was like possibly one of the worst transfers that we've watched, as far as just how the compression looked. It was horrible. Absolutely. I mean, it looked like something someone transferred back in 1997 or something. It was awful. Special effects were terrible. The lizard was, he was ugly and scary, but you couldn't even see how ugly and scary he was because it was so dark. So, just everything, every production value on this was just really pretty bad, and mostly just fun to laugh at. And I always think it's fun, though, when I'm watching a movie and I see a location I actually recognize, and when he was in the the cable car, I recognized it immediately, and I was like, I've been up there. Apparently, that cable car going up to Sandia Peak is the longest continuous cable car in the world. It's a very long one, and it's very fun. If you're not afraid of heights, it's really neat to go in it, and it does go up almost 1,300 feet. And I went up there with my mom. I think I went to stay. She lived in Santa Fe. She picked me up in Albuquerque, and after I landed at the airport, she picked me up, and we went up there. I want to say it was 2004. It was around the holidays, and we went up there, and there's a restaurant up there, and we actually ate lunch up there, and I took my bagpipes up there with me, and I played the bagpipes up there at 12,500 feet, and my lungs must be pretty good because I didn't feel a thing. So anyway, just an interesting memory associated with this movie, believe it or not. It is beautiful up there, and the movie did not capture that at all in any way howsoever. So if you're ever in Albuquerque area, go to Sandia Peak. It's pretty nifty, pretty cool ride up there, ride back on the cable car. They got a neat gift shop, and that's what I'm taking away from this movie, was that there was that thrilling moment of realizing, oh, hey, I've been to that place. Anyway, thanks, Tom, for suffering through this with the rest of us. You're a trooper, and yeah, that'll be it for me. NV5F.
All right, thank you, Virginia. And yeah, well, you know, you got to do what Brenda wants. You know, she thought this was a great film, and so we had to watch it. And I hate to disappoint her because, you know, these movies mean so much to her. Next up is Cruz, KI5KWG. Cruz, your final comments or whatever you have, please go ahead from KE5I6.
KI5KWG, I have a question, but I would be remiss if my favorite of my own lines, because my own humor sometimes amuses me, and if I don't laugh at my jokes, who will? Was a comment I made last night, and I said, I noted that they didn't film the actual moon. And I understand this, by the way, this isn't what I wrote, but what I was thinking, is I understand that if you're going to do a deep zoom in on a full moon, you're going to need some specialized equipment to track the moon in the sky as the Earth is rotating underneath it. And that's not an easy thing to do, is to keep zoomed in, even on the moon, in your field of view. So their cheap way out of that was, well, I'll read my note now. I noted they didn't film the actual moon, just used a photo. So even the moon backed out of the film after reading the script. Okay, so that was it. But my question is this, because I got very confused. They show on that cable car a body falling, apparently thrown, I guess, out of the cable car. And in the very next scene, because I thought that was Paul killing himself. But in the very next scene, it cuts to, there's Paul by his wiped-out motorcycle again, getting ready to run off into the woods. So whose body was being thrown from the cable car? I never understood that. And what happened to Ty the Lizard? That's what I've got on this. KI5KWG, as you can tell, I really quite enjoyed this.
Well, thank you, Cruz. Well, obviously it was Ty the Wonder Lizard that threw a body off of the cable car thing. That's got to be what happened, and we just never pursued it because that would have been picked up in Track of the Moon Beast Part 2. And we know that Ty, is the Wonder Lizard, is probably on the lam, trying to slither away from authorities who are now in active pursuit for him. Just have to say that's what it is. Okay, Let's see. I'm looking to see if Brenda has anything here. She didn't say anything. She must have fallen asleep, I have no doubt. And no comments because I said that this is one of her favorite movies and we had to watch it because of that. But she's gone. She's definitely fallen asleep. Okay, let's see. Any comments? I agree. Oh, by the way, thank you, Virginia, for reminding me about that one comment. Oh, nope, she says she's awake but hasn't typed anything in. We'll type something in, Brenda, so that we know what you have to say. Yeah, the audio part was really terrible. There was the scene, and I know, Virginia, what you're talking about. The scene is supposed to be by the pool. There's a little table there or something, and it looks like it's outdoors. But it definitely sounds like it's indoors. There's a heavy echo. And people just don't know how to use microphones. I mean, we deal with it at work all the time, and it is difficult to set up. But if you're making a movie, you should be really cognizant that probably your weakest link in the film, besides having poor lighting, is terrible sound. And you can have a good film or have everything look great, and if your sound stinks, forget it. You're in trouble. And this brings up a point I was thinking about one of the amateur productions of Star Trek. I think it was New Voyages, and they were talking about, they had their own version of a planet Hell, which is supposed to be a planet scene, and they had their version of Captain Kirk and Dr. McCoy and Mr. Spock and all that. And one of the things that was interesting is I listened to some of the dialogue, some of the directors' comments on that. They said we had to voice over everything. You had to loop the voice on the entire scene because it was just the microphones couldn't be placed close enough to the actors in order to get rid of the echo. So there's an example where an amateur production actually went in and fixed the audio later on. And I think in this case, this one was just a poor film, and they didn't fix the audio. They didn't go in and do voiceovers or anything, which they could have done to vastly improve it. But again, and this is true with some of the other movies we've seen recently, is also the use of the shadows over people's faces at times where there shouldn't have been. And then my absolute hatred is the use of the zoom lens, excessively slow. So that way then you can use a single camera. You don't have to do a lot of cuts. You just zoom into the scene, and it skips the editor and allows you to go ahead and continue without having to set up the camera for a close-up shot. That's just cheap looking. I hate it in television shows. I noticed on some of the other, about 1968, I would say, 67, 68, the zoom lens was really starting to get used a lot. I think it came earlier than that, but it got into popular use. It was used in television to get through productions really quick. It just looks terrible. I hate it. So, any rate, now Brenda does have a comment. She says that Ty the Wonder Lizard walked out because he didn't have enough lines. And she says, if you don't have a budget for SFX, just shoot in the dark. No one will notice. Well, you're right, and that was true in Alien because they shot that dark because we weren't sure that they would buy into the alien, although I thought they did a really good job on the alien. Although it was still a person in a rubber suit. So you can take it for what it's worth. Okay, well, that's it. We're going to end early tonight, and that's fine. Next week's movie, and I did double-check it to make sure it was still there. I've never seen this one. I don't know if it's any good. It is with Brad Pitt, called World War Z, which is done, the story is written by Mel Brooks' son. I can't think of his name right now, but it is Brooks. Suspense is killer, proclaims Peter Travers of Rolling Stone. So that'll be next week's movie. It is available on YouTube. I will send the links to all of you so that you can see it. The following week will be Oblivion with Tom Cruise. It says Oblivion too, but it's actually Oblivion. So, but next week's movie is World War Z from 2019. I want to say thank you to everyone who checked in. Thank you for watching the films and sticking with it for as long as you do. That's pretty cool. we have a lot of fun with these things, and I took an extra long nap today so I could stay awake because I was really beat. So we'll see you all next time. This is KE5ICX. I would say 73. Bye-bye. Bye, Bonds. And don't forget to watch the great movies that are out there and the ones that we assign to. Bye.